You extend your hand, the other person extends theirs. You grip, shake twice, let go. You have done this thousands of times without ever asking why, and the explanation you have probably heard, that the handshake began as a way to show you weren't carrying a weapon, is almost certainly wrong. The weapons check theory goes like this. The handshake developed among armed strangers as a way to demonstrate that the right hand, the sword hand, was empty and open. You were proving you came in peace. It is a neat story. Clean, logical, satisfying. Historians and archaeologists think it is mostly rubbish. The theory assumes everyone carried weapons in their dominant hand, which was not consistently true across cultures or time periods. It assumes the gesture emerged from combat-ready encounters, for which there is no direct evidence. It assumes a single moment of origin, which anthropologists doubt, and it fails to explain why the handshake appears, apparently independently, across cultures that had little contact with each other. What we actually know is this. A stone relief carved in the 9th century BC shows the Assyrian king Shalmaneser III clasping hands with the king of Babylon, one of the earliest clear depictions we have. It is not two strangers checking for swords. It is two rulers sealing an agreement, a covenant made physical. Ancient Greek pottery from the 5th century BC depicts handshakes between warriors, between gods, between the living and the dead. In those contexts, it marks a bond, something solemn. An oath made visible. In Homer, characters clasp hands to seal promises they cannot break. The pattern that emerges is not suspicion, it is agreement. The gesture was not about checking for weapons. It was about bridging the space between two bodies at the moment two wills align. The Quakers refused to shake hands. They considered the gesture a performance of status, a hollow social ritual masking the inequality between the people performing it. Quakers greeted one another verbally, without the gesture, as a declaration of equal worth. They were not against friendliness, they were against theater. In post-plague Europe, handshaking declined sharply. The terror of physical contact drove people toward bowing, nodding, and removing hats. The hand was seen as a vector of disease, not a symbol of connection. Then it came back. And it came back with unusual force in 17th and 18th century Britain, where it became associated with honesty, directness, and Protestant plainness, contrasted against what English commentators described as the fussy, deferential bowing of Southern European Catholic courts. Benjamin Franklin was an enthusiastic promoter of the handshake. George Washington greeted visitors with a handshake rather than a formal bow, which was a deliberate statement. In the young American Republic, the handshake was framed as democratic. The gesture of equals, not of subjects and rulers. Then, in 2015, researchers at the Weizmann Institute of Science in Israel published a study suggesting something stranger. They used hidden cameras to observe people after handshakes. What they found was that people consistently raised their own hands to their faces, particularly toward their nose, far more often after shaking someone else's hand than they did otherwise. When tested, the hand they had used for the shake carried traces of biochemical compounds. The researchers proposed that handshaking might function as a form of chemosignaling, an unconscious exchange of chemical information that operates beneath the level of conscious awareness. If that interpretation is correct, the handshake is not a social convention that evolved from weapons checking. It may be an instinctive biological behavior that human societies have wrapped in ceremony. The COVID-19 pandemic prompted sincere predictions that the handshake was finished. Fist bumps and elbow touches were proposed as permanent replacements. Epidemiologists noted that handshakes are genuinely efficient transmission routes for pathogens. Multiple businesses and public institutions suspended the gesture. It came back almost exactly as it had been. The handshake survived plagues, religious objections, political theories, and a global pandemic. No wave or nod has replaced it. Because what the handshake actually does, the brief, physical, equal contact between two people, palm to palm, at the moment of meeting, has no clean substitute. You are not showing you are unarmed. You are not exchanging chemicals you cannot consciously smell. You are making contact. And for most of human history, that has meant something. Now you know.